Hello everyone and welcome to the first Getting Stuff Painted of 2025, the bi-weekly update I do, give or take, on the miniatures I've been painting for games we cover here on the channel. And thanks to my friend who goes by Evil Vice President or Evil President, depending on where you see him, I know that apparently, including scenery, in 2024 I painted more or less precisely 400 things. I'll say things because scenery is included. That is a lot. I'm looking to beat that this year, and I encourage everyone who watches this and also paints their miniatures to do the same. Why stop at the Christmas season? Why not continue doing damage to your pile of grey shame? Let's go for at least 450 by the end of 2025. That's a tough ask considering, I mean, that's more than one a day, but I think it's possible. Anyway, today I have some scenery to show you, but just to talk about it briefly because I've covered it more so in previous updates in the past. A big chunk of Marvel Crisis Protocol, a little bit of Kill Team, a little bit of Blood Bowl, and a little bit of BattleTech / Alpha Strike to finish on. So from one of the scenery specials I did towards the tail end of 2024, I covered how I was choosing to paint up the Warhammer Kill Team terrain from the Hivestorm box. I guess I should have included this when I was mentioning what I painted because this is from Kill Team as well. I did a test bit of rubble and I did some of the smaller bits of scenery. I've now taken to completing two of the larger pieces, and once again I was using oh, my dog barking for a start. You quite finished or can I carry on? She's undecided. Anyway, as I was saying, I was using a tutorial on how to paint up this scenery pretty quick by Warhipster. I linked it in the special where I talked about those in a scenery special. I changed up a little bit. Instead of using entirely contrast, which is what he did more or less, I chose rather to use a bronze paint for the pipes and things rather than, I think he used Wildwood. That's really the only difference. I used Grey Seer to pick out the Mechanicus skull a little bit more, and other than that I did it exactly as he did it. It's a really good tutorial, and honestly if you stop after just step one of his tutorial it still looks good, which is just a couple of dry brushes and it's fine. So that is two of the larger sections of the terrain done for Hivestorm. That is what it was called, right? I keep forgetting. Either way, and it looks nice, it looks decent enough, and it doesn't take long. It's mostly dry brushing with a little bit of contrast on top after you do the initial spray in black. It's super simple and the effect is real nice. I would encourage you to use bronze instead if you want to take that little bit of extra time, because I think the aged bronze look or metal, that just it fits the grime that is associated with 40k scenery. And it looks nice. So there's one more really big bit of scenery to do, and then kind of like one that's slightly larger than these two bits, and then a couple of miscellaneous small bits, and then that's all the terrain from it done. And yeah, this is once again I will say watch that video. It's a really good video with a really good technique to get terrain done super quick, and if you hate terrain like I do, it's a good way of getting it done just fast but actually liking the finished article. Like I really, especially this bit with the Mechanicus stuff, and it just looks nice, and it'll look nice on camera eventually once we start filming Kill Team sometime this year. To get the rest of the terrain out of the way before we move on, I have painted up two more lampposts for Marvel Crisis Protocol. This is part of the terrain that was in the original core box, but you also got some more in the Earth's Mightiest core box, the newest and, at time of recording, current core box. Super simple. Spray painted them Grey Seer, used Basilicanum Grey, and a little bit of Talisar Blue, and then some non-oil. Nothing much else. It was, again, super quick just to get them done. To add to that tally, there's 4 things already. 1% of what I'm after. Now we move on to the important stuff. Let's start with Bishop here, because I made a mistake in the last video. I had Bishop done and he was meant to be in that end of year update. I totally forgot. He was sitting on the table because he was in a battle report, and I forgot to bring him back to record this. So that was my bad. I did paint him up last year, but I'm including him now just so I can go over things with him, because I did try to do something fancy with his energy absorption, add all this pink light. That's a mixture of Volupus pink. Oh, some of the paint's actually peeled off right there. That was not like that before. I must have done that when I was moving the miniature. I need to fix that after this. I wonder if that's down to what I used, because as I was about to say, I used a little bit of Volupus pink where it's really dark, but where it's light I was using Army Paint Speed Paint 2.0 pink, which I've used in the past for Rumble Slam. If you want to go back in these videos, I wonder if that's because I've tried to mix it and it doesn't mix as well. Like, it shouldn't be so weak that you can just kind of scrape it off accidentally. So that's a bit unfortunate if so. Hopefully this is in focus. There we go. I don't really want you to see the bit that's come off. But yeah, I tried to do some kind of fancy lighting effect, like, because he is in the process of absorbing energy. That's his mutant power. And he can send it back with interest, as one of his powers is called. Fire Slayer Flesh is his skin tone. I don't like this effect in terms of like how I did the lighting here. It looks a bit too messy. I like how I managed to pick it out on his abs. I kind of did that by accident, and I like how that's reflected. I think that looks kind of nice. And in general, again, if you're this far away, I think the reflection, or the absorption effect looks nice. It's just when you get a bit too close, it starts to fall apart a little bit. In terms of other colors, we have, that's Talassar Blue, that is Iron Jaws Yellow, Lead Belcher Silver, Baal Red, actually no, that's Blood Angels Red, and I think that's about it. Black Templar, and a little bit of non-oil on the metals. Didn't put any on the fabrics because I knew I was going to do something reflective with it, so I decided it wasn't necessary. And the base, Silicanum Grey, Lead Belcher Silver, with Dry Rust on it. It's a destroyed Sentinel army standing on, so just basically used the colours I used when I was painting the big guys back then. So did this last year technically, but because I didn't include it in that video, it means it wasn't included in the tally, so we can include it this time. So now, let's talk about the big boy himself, Abomination, Emil Blonsky. I really like this model. I knew he was large because I saw my friend paint him up beforehand. But once you've actually got him in hand, you really get the sense of scale compared to my hand. He is the same size as Immortal Hulk, which does put him towering somewhat above the original Hulk for Crisis Protocol, which makes sense because Abomination is taller than Hulk as far as I'm aware. At least in the MCU iteration, he certainly is. So it makes sense that he'd be larger than him. Immortal Hulk is a little bit of a different story. So they are on par, and they do kind of match up in the sense that it looks like he's going in for a swing. It comes with modelling options, so you don't need to model him holding the chunk of rebar or whatever there. If you don't want to, you can just be forming a fist. That hand can be made into a fist as well if you wanted, I think. But I liked how dynamic this looked. I like that his hand, it's a nice little attention to detail. Like, he has actually crushed into the rock and he's holding like the metal inside. I thought that was a neat effect. And my friend painted this up and he provided for me his method of colouring it. I was originally going to use that, but I decided, kind of on a whim, I'm just going to experiment and just see what I can come up with. So I mostly used the green whose name I always forget. It is Flesh Ripper. It's Gut Ripper, Flesh Ripper green, whatever it's called. It's a very pale green. It's meant for vampires and zombies and stuff like that. I keep forgetting the name of it. It's definitely, I think it's Gut Ripper Flesh. That's primarily what I used here. And while it was still damp, I mixed in Militarum Green on where his hide is thickest. In the official paint job, it's kind of grey, and I didn't really like that effect, and I don't think it matches up to his card art. So, pardon me, I just made it a little bit darker around the arms, the forearms, the sides of the legs here into the thighs, and then up his back as well. So it's a subtle difference of green, but if you look closely, you can tell like that the back of the leg is lighter, for instance, than the back of the shoulder blades. So that's what I was going for there. I used the Hulk green, as I call it, for the insides of the signs that he's currently smushing, Silicanum Grey, Lead Belcher Silver, and Agros Dunes for the insides of the curb that he's crushing. His pants were Stormfiend Blue, I believe I used for them. And his eyes, I'm not sure if they're picking up, but I did pick out his pupils in yellow, and it was again the same yellow I just talked about, I think. So Iron Jaws Yellow. So all in all, I love this model. It was not particularly hard to paint to this level of standard. For his lighter chest, I did a very light dry brushing of, I think it's called, not Nurgling Green. Said I'll do a Nurgling something dry brush paint, and I tried that. It wasn't quite good enough, so I mixed in some Grey Seer to lighten it up a little bit, and then applied that to his abs, his pecs, and kind of where his flesh is weakest, essentially, to make it look lighter, and again just to create a little bit of a more interesting color palette to look at. But if you wanted to just use the one flat green, that would work to a certain extent as well. But super impressive model, very imposing. In fact, you can compare his size to regular human here with Bishop. Like, he is a large lad, and it's super imposing. Very impressive miniature. I love the pose. Love just that he has, like, he has the Hulk physique and size, but he plays totally different, and it is rare for Crisis Protocol to have that level of variance because they are somewhat limited by the rules of the game, like number of defenses, number of attacks. You've got to have spenders, you've got to have builders, you've got to have 3 attacks or 3 defense types, etc, etc. But he's all about giving off radiation and poisoning people, which plays into other characters like Baron Strucker and who else? Who's the other one that loves poisoning people? Viper, but that's not who I'm thinking of. Nope, I'm blanking on it. I'll think of it as soon as I press stop record, I'm sure. But either way, he plays into that kind of stuff, and just in general, he's pretty powerful. He's not going to beat Hulk in a one-on-one, especially if it's a mortal Hulk. You know, he just doesn't have the HP pool, but he's got a really interesting style of fighting. Anyway, we'll see him in the near future in a battle report, and it'll be hard to miss with that level of girth. As we move on to talking about this horrible monstrosity, I was thinking of Omega Red. That's who I was blanking on, Omega Red. Anyway, this is another one of the Gellerpox infected for that particular kill team. He appears to have been turned into some kind of partial squid monster with the face there, and then the like Cthulhu tentacles coming down here. For the official paint job for a few of the big like plague beasts or whatever they're called for Gellerpox, they've got exceptionally pale skin, and I kind of wish I'd tried and made his skin pale, because I feel like it would have matched up to the official paint job more. As such, I used Guilliman Flesh. I tried to be quite light with it, but because I'm doing Aggress Earthshade over it when I'm done, it ended up getting darkened down. I think I might try it with the next one I end up painting, but just leaving the Grey Seer as is, as in just the base coat, and then letting the Aggress Earthshade taint that and see how that looks. Might do. I'm going to experiment with the next one and I'll see, because it kind of bugs me that I did pretty well matching up the other colours of the official paint job, but then not the parts where it's pale skinned. Anyway, I cracked out Shyless Purple for the first time in years, the contrast paint purple that I don't like really because it doesn't apply very well, and I used that for the dark parts, and then did a dry brushing of Demonette Hide, I believe it was, over the top, just to add a bit more fine detail to the suckers or whatever you call them on the tentacles and that kind of thing. Mixture of Eldari Emerald, Gut Ripper Flesh, Iron Chaw's Yellow for all these like horrible sores he has here, and just for this part where the hide's kind of gotten tighter. And that about does it really. A little bit of Shyless, not Shyless Purple, Volupus Pink, that's the one, mixed in where his wounds are kind of on it, because he's partially stitched together. Like down the middle here, he is stitched together. Pretty cool. He also has something escaping from him, that presumably a Nurgling or a Glitchling, I guess, because there's a hand there, so I just kind of made it look like an eye. Couldn't quite tell what the official paint job was trying to make him look like, and for whatever reason, he's got a fish. He's nautical themed, he's water themed, I don't know. He's got a fish. He also has exposed buttocks with many fish hooks on them. So yeah, he's just got a whole fish thing going on. How does that fit into the theme of like computer virus, Gellerpox infected? I don't know. They were just having fun with these. Like the next one I'm going to be painting is partial fly, and he has a big claw, but he's also a fly monster. And then the leader of the kill team is just like a guy with an oven built into his stomach. They had fun with it. That's why I love painting Nurgle stuff. They're just so weird. Next, as a matter of note, I don't really need to talk about them other than to say they are done. It is the last 4 of the, I keep wanting to call them Grotlings, but they're Noblars. The 4 Noblars, the final 4 for the Fire Mountain Ogre team for Blood Bowl. Talked about them more last time. I did, 6 of them last time, I think. And this is the last of them now. So 2 in the final 2 poses. And much like last time, again, I talked about it in more detail, and they're also hard to get into focus because they're so tiny. I just reversed the colours on each of the 2 poses to tell them apart. And it's a super simple way. I actually used one of the wrong heads for one of these guys who's slipping in the mud. So their faces are not the same one, but honestly that's just an extra way to tell them apart, because this one's got a hat on. But I kind of had fun with the paint I used for the mud base because they're falling, so it really does look like he's just piled up the mud and he's skidding, which I thought was a pretty fun effect. But as I say, go watch the one before this one if you want more fine details on how I painted these. I am now able to move on to the actual ogres for the Blood Bowl team. They'll be a bit more of an endeavour because they're obviously huge compared to these guys. In fact, I would say they're probably comparable in size to him. So they'll take a bit longer, and I need to decide fully on colour scheme. And finally, again, as a matter of note, let's go up by size, I guess. We have 4 mechs for BattleTech rather. Specifically Alpha Strike, that's what I used them for. And a lot of AC-20 specifically amongst all these mechs, as someone pointed out to me. I didn't do that on purpose, just the way it worked out. I've talked many times in the past about how I... Oh, there's a car alarm going off. How I paint my own particular mercenary faction that I made in the video games and then carried over to the models. But if you want a really quick rundown, Aethermatic blue, Talisar blue, Leadbelcher silver, non-oil. That's essentially it. Super simple. And then I just used some technical paints to make their feet look dusty and stuff like that. Covered much more in detail in a video from last year. But I thought it would be a good idea while I show these off just to mention, if you haven't made the move from Twitter to Blue Sky, and I'm not being paid to endorse this or anything, this is just a general endorsement, I highly encourage you to do so if you are at all artistic, be it like physical media, digital media, or in this case if you paint miniatures. Not least because you don't want your stuff used to train AI, but if you're not willing to pay money on Twitter, your pictures and things, and even if you use hashtags, will get suppressed, and I know that for a fact. Go over to Blue Sky, use your hashtag miniatures, hashtag BattleTech in this case, hashtag Crisis Protocol, Marvel Crisis Protocol. Your pictures will get seen and appreciated by fellow collectors of the miniatures, which does not happen on Twitter. I'm mentioning it specifically while showing off these because I posted a photo of these on Blue Sky before I did this video, and I've not been on Blue Sky very long, but it's already the most popular, whatever it is you call a tweet on Blue Sky, seen by like dozens of people. I think it's up to like 100 almost, of people who don't follow me, don't know me, but because they follow the game I posted a picture of with appropriate hashtags, it's actually getting seen. And the same thing is happening for my friends that I've suggested to as well. So if you actually want your miniatures to be seen in a bit of an old school social media format, definitely go to Blue Sky. It will at least get noticed, and everyone seems quite nice over there. There is some hashtags on Twitter where I posted, like for instance back when I collected Bot War, that hashtag was not used for the miniature game Bot War. It was used for scary conspiracy theory stuff. It's just a nightmare ground over there, and the sooner it dies the better. But anyway, I forgot to mention the names of the mechs. I already showed you the Raven and the Hunchback. The Hunchback is also one of my favourite mechs. We have a Highlander here. I also really like it, and I think this is one that probably turned out the best of the bunch. And then we have the King Crab. I don't like the crab, but I've just killed my Highlander and knocked a bunch of dust off his base. That shows that it's not particularly stuck on. Oh, the parts on his feet are the ones that fell into the base, not so much. King Crab, I hate how the crab looks for BattleTech. The King Crab, I kind of love how stupid it is. It looks so well armored, and I just love that you can have so many AC-20s in it, and it's just a murder machine, at least in the video games. Haven't tried it on the table in any format yet, but you know, pretty cool. So yeah, take home message from that, get Blue Sky. If you do, you can follow me on there. It's linked in the description box below. And slightly messier than when we started, that is going to do it for the first Getting Stuff Painted of 2025. I hope next time to have maybe some more of the Blood Bowl team done to show you. I'm going to be tackling the Wrecking Crew for Crisis Protocol. That's who's in the box with Abomination. Perhaps some more Kill Team terrain. Once the weather gets a little bit less below freezing, I'll be able to get outside and spray paint stuff, so I can get more into that. And beyond that, I am going to paint up some more Space Marines for Kill Team as well. I want some options for the Blood Ravens that I covered a couple of videos ago. So I've got a few more of those that I just left sitting, and I'm just going to get those painted up as well, I think, just to get them done. I know right now at the start of the year, by the time you hear this, there's going to be a lot of Marvel Champions on the channel. It's just what I had time for and the mood for to paint over Christmas and New Year. That will continue a little bit, but there will be miniature games obviously, and I'm still painting stuff if nothing else. If you want to show me what you've been painting, feel free to do so. Blue Sky is obviously the best way, or my Discord server. If you need an invite to the Discord server, just swing by when I'm streaming on Twitch and I can give you the link, no problem. And yeah, I hope this encourages you to get started strong in 2025 and get your own models painted. Punish the pile of grey shame. It's been very naughty. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ta for now.